Alright, so one more thing that I need to do is add some additional clusters here to the lips so that we can actually do like a lip pucker almost. I'll call it lip curl, I guess, is the best term I can come up with. But what I want to do, and this is going to take some precision here. I'm going to have to make my mouse a little less crazy, is I'm going to be selecting the vertices that correspond to the lips. I don't think I have the texture on here, but generally speaking, you want to correlate it to where the texture ends of the lip. But I like to grab a little bit more just for some basic skin stretching. So what I'm going to do, I find a quick way to select them all is to select the edge loops since they continue around so well. So I'll do that and just get the edge loops that constitute the lips real quick. That ought to be good right there, and that right there. Let me see, I got one I think I have to get that's on the inside. In fact, I'll grab the next one too. Okay, I really only need the top to start with, so what I'm going to do is hold down control with all these edge loops selected and right click. So control right click and just go west to two vertices, and that'll convert it. So this makes it very easy to just go in now and deselect what I don't need as part of this setup that I'm about to do. Okay, so I'm just gonna go my front view here. I may have to do some little tweaks here and there, but I'll take a look once I'm done doing this. Um, looks a little. I know there's some overlap on the lips, so I just gotta be a little careful in certain areas. But like I said, I'm just gonna do the top first, so I can deselect a group of them. Back to wireframe. Get rid of these extras, and I'll take a little peek around just to make sure, because this corner looks pretty crazy. Get rid of those. Looks like I'm gonna have to do this part inside. Alright, so get rid of that, that. And I think that ought to do it for that side at least. Looking good, and I just gotta fix the other side. So, now obviously you could have gone in and selected them by hand one at a time, but I just tend to prefer this method. It takes about the same amount of time, to be honest. So I'm just holding down control and removing these from the selection that I have. And just a couple more. And I'm not going to include the center line on this either. I could add those back later if I really want to, but looks good from here. Looks like I only have things in the top lip now. So now what I'm going to do is create another cluster. And by the way, just in case you didn't notice, I'm doing this on the blend shape head where all the clusters were before. So, and the weights are still not done. I apologize, but again, I'm sick today, so I'm in between the videos that I record, I'm rendering and taking a nap at the same time because I am not feeling great at all. So I'm going to add a cluster here. So create deformer cluster. I just want to set it to relative, which it already is. And now what you'll see is when I rotate that, it will rotate the lips. The only thing I don't like right here is the position of the pivot. So what I'll do is go into my side view here, and it's kind of hard to see the cluster. Obviously, we have like 4 heads in the way, so there's not a whole lot I can do about that except go into wireframe mode. But even though I can kind of tell where it is because these lips are the same, so or should be pretty close to the same. What I want to do is just hold down D to activate the pivot editing mode, and I'm gonna just move the pivot back in the Z direction till it's to about the back of the lip. Okay. Oops, excuse me. now, when I rotate it, you can see it's rotating from a much better spot. However, it looks like I did indeed get an extra vert, but that is going to be pretty easy to fix, and I'll show you that in just a second. Um, what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab the bottom lip as well. I'll show you the difference between the way I did it earlier and the way I'm doing it now. I'll just go in and select vertices. So I know that the lip is going to end about right here, so I'll just get the ones I need. I don't like to grab that center line for this step. Okay, so I'll just do this part by hand, and you can just see the basic difference between it. It's probably going to take about the same amount of time, to be honest. So I don't know if the other method is necessarily a time saver. Um, Considering how my mouse is, where it gets a little crazy every now and then, it's set to a very high speed. Um, this probably is going to be, it could be a little bit harder generally. Nope, I needed that one, I'm sorry. Alright, so I'll go inside now and continue this selection. One at the edge of the lip. Okay, get these two. Okay. Looks like I got everything alright. Just check the right side. It looks good to me, so I'll do another cluster. And I will set the pivot again. So this time, I'm just going to hold down D, drag it back. One thing I could do if I really wanted to is hide the blend shapes, but I think I'm okay with this. So now I can rotate it from there, and you can see. Maybe I should have grabbed some extra cluster or some extra vertices, but I'm okay. I think I'll show you how to do that in just a second, where we can add some more to it, which I definitely should have added that next row right there. So what I'm going to do is show you how to add the vertices to this, but I'm going to name these real quick. This will be CL underscore upper lip roll, and this will be CL lower lip roll. Alright, now in order to paint on this, I'm going to have to do a couple things. Like I said, first I want to add some verts and remove some, because I could see that on the top one I definitely added something that I shouldn't have. So I'll show you how to remove that. It's pretty simple. What I'll do first is I'll just set some keyframes on these, just so you can see the difference, or just so it's a little bit easier to grab and deselect and stuff like that. Looks like I might have gotten some extra stuff in the corner over there too. Yeah, it looks like I might have grabbed just a little bit. Like one vert from the bottom over there. Okay. So either way, it's pretty easy to fix. What I'm going to do is select the skin, and under Edit Deformer, I'm going to do Paint Set Membership Tool. And what this is going to allow me to do, if you don't know, a cluster is similar to a selection set in that it has vertices listed underneath it. In this case, vertices, because it is I started with vertices. So what I can do is go to the Paint Set Membership tool, and you'll see it's got a strange color range. I don't know if you can actually change that at all. Not that I've really looked into, but you can see there's an ever so slight difference on the lips than there is on the skin. So what I'll do is, we've got cluster 15 and 16. Those are the one that was the original name. So unfortunately it's going to be under that, but that's good, because you can see when you select it over here which one is highlighting. So now I can go onto cluster 15, and you see the different operations. I can add, transfer, or remove. So what I can do is just set it to remove to get rid of that one right there from the top vert, and there's that other little bugger that was causing an issue, so I can just remove them from the current set. And that's not too bad, actually. That looks a lot better. Looks like I might have one more over here. One more little extra one. Yeah, there he is. Let me try that again. He does not want to come with it. There we go. That was it, I think. Huh. Still one more. Okay. Looks like I probably have those on the other side, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. Looks okay. Pretty similar, at least. I think I have one extra over here that I want to try and get rid of. Maybe one more. Gonna be a little difficult here. Looks like I can't really get to it. So, I'm just going to leave that one for now. I can remove that in other ways, but I think for now I'll be okay with what I've got. But I do want to go to the lower one. And you can see I need to add some stuff because it's just not perfect here. So, what I'm going to do is just move my keyframes down so I can see a little bit more. Because I want to add these underneath as well as ones inside. So, I'll just switch it to add mode and add them to that. So I don't know how I got that one down there. Oh, it's my brush. I need a solid brush for that so that it doesn't go all over the place. Alright, so I've got that bottom row, and I'm going to add a little bit inside of the mouth as well. So, I'll just go inside and add these as well. Okay, and that looks pretty good. There we go. I'm going to go back to the upper one and just see, maybe I want to add another row. No, I think we'll be okay. Well, maybe. I think I'll add that next row. Because then we can paint the weights on the cluster after this. So we're basically painting what is part, or what is controlled by the cluster first. Then we're going to paint the weights for that. Okay, so I'll just add these. Don't think I'm going to add the rest of them. I think maybe this one. Yeah, I'll go one. Alright, so that should be enough. So now I can go in and smooth out the weights a little bit. Because the thing is, without those vertices as part of the set, I couldn't paint on them at all. So by adding them, even though it looks not great right now, I can go in and refine the weights so that it looks a lot better. So again, I'm just painting what's part of the cluster, or what's controlled by the cluster, as opposed to how much it's controlled by the cluster. Okay? So I've got my cluster set up now, so I can leave that tool, but now I need to paint the weights for the cluster. To do that, again, select the skin, edit deformer, paint cluster weights tool. And I'm going to want to bring the options up here. There we go. I'm going to change my brush to a solid one because that's what I prefer to use. And this is exactly the same as the paint weights tool, except you cannot bring up the, not that I know of at least, not that I've been able to find, the color ramp. So that's a bit of a downer, but on the plus side, you do have the ability to have it reflect. Now, there is a way to do that with the paint weights tool, but you have to use some scripting for that. But either way, now I can go ahead and paint on these individual clusters. So thankfully, I still have the weights on them. So what I can do is just go in between, and I'll go maybe to about right here, halfway in. And I'm going to start painting on them. Now, to paint on a specific cluster, you just click on this button up here and go to cluster, and it'll show you the different ones that you can actually paint on. Since the only clusters that I have directly on the skin are these two, those are the ones that will show up. The other clusters are applied to the curves, so they won't show up in this list. So let's work on the upper lip roll first. And I'll go in here, and I am going to reduce these to, let's say, I don't know, let me go down to 0 first, and I'll just take the outer ones and fix them in a second. So they'll be part of it at least. I can go back in and fix this. But what I want to do is just paint these back to 0 real quick. And now I can, that's good enough, right? For the lip, that's good, but I'm going to go back in now and add with a low value on the next row. And again, you'll only be able to paint on what's part of this cluster's set. So I can go in here with a low value and just start adding, and thankfully reflection is on this time, so I don't have to worry so much about doing it on the other side and mirroring it over and all that stuff. Okay. Oops. Now here's the cool thing, if I try to paint out here, nothing's going to happen because those are not part of this cluster's set. So we don't have to worry as much about that. And let's see, smooth mode, looking pretty good. Not too shabby, I kind of like that. I think maybe a little bit more up here because it's kind of folding in on itself. Nice. Excuse me. Okay, so there's the upper lip. Now I'll do the bottom. Lower lip. And let's see how it goes. Not too bad. It looks like I probably should have added that next row. But actually, this looks pretty decent from the get-go. So let me try scaling this down. Let's say 0.9. So it's just going to take away 0.10 each time. Not bad. Okay. So I could go in and add more cluster or more CVs to each cluster so that I have a little bit more control, but I'm happy enough with the way this looks, and as you can see, if you look at the original, you can see it's going over there too. So that's pretty much done. We'll put these into the blend shape group. And there they go. And I'm going to remove their keyframes, frame 1 in this case, just so that they're no longer there. But I'm going to be adding controls for the lips eventually, so these will go ahead and control all of that for me. So, what I'm going to do next, I think I can go ahead and add it in this video. I was going to make a separate one, but I'll go ahead and do it now. I'm going to create the joint system for the tongue. Now, this involves actually bringing up the using the original head. So what I'm going to do for now is just hide the blend shape group. I'll be going back to it most likely at some point. In fact, I will to set up all the controllers, but I'm going to hide it just for now. Control H, and I'm going to find the tongue mesh, which may be on a layer. I just can't recall. Let's see. Is it visible right now? No, it's not, which means it's on layer 1. So there it is. Alright, I'm going to remove these layers because I don't think I need them. You don't obviously have to do that. I'm just doing it because it's there and it's bothering me. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I will just go ahead and isolate the tongue. So with the tongue selected, show, isolate, select, deselect it. Bada boom. So what I'm going to do first is just set up a very basic little joint chain in here, starting at the base. Oh wait, let me do one more thing before I continue. Go back to the isolate select menu, auto load new objects. That way we can see the joints as we create them. So I'll put one at the base of it, then I'm going to skip up to this edge loop right here, 2, 3, 4, and I know that even though this edge loop looks like I should put one there, it's not necessary, although I could. Why not? One there and one there. Okay, check out the orientations. They should all be fine in this case, which they are. That's good. So, now what I'm going to do is make the other joints. There's going to be basically, I'm going to duplicate these. So, I'm just going to, from the starter joint, I guess. Now, let's select the second joint in. Okay. I'll just duplicate it, Control D, and drag it over to the its left. And we'll be adjusting these a little bit on each one. and then duplicate it one more time and do that. So we've got 3 chains here. And what I'm going to do is just adjust these one by one a little bit. But I'm going to be setting these up just parented to each other. So basically, this will still be the start join back here, but this will be the second one, and then these two will fork off of this one right here. But basically, what I want to do is I can do this one of a couple of different ways. I can just select all of these joints and unparent them first, which is not 100%. It's not necessary to do this, but I can just select all those on an individual basis and hit Shift P. And that'll give us a bunch of individual joints. And that's fine. What I can do is take these two at the end and just delete them. I know I'm not going to need them at all. So I can do that, and then I'll just parent these to one another. So select this one, and then this one, hit P. Select this, and then this, and hit P. And you're going to do that for the rest of them. Now, I recommend you go in and maybe adjust them just a little bit to match the geometry just a little more. And this could help being in the top view here. Okay, so parent that to that, parent that to that, and these appear to be okay. But frankly, I'm seeing I don't need them at all. I think I'll be fine without these. I'm going to delete these two. So I end up with this little setup right here. And what I want to do is just mirror these joints over. So I'll grab this one and go to Skeleton, Mirror Joint, YZ. Let's see which one we want. Behavior is getting us something not so great. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Orientation. I want them to have the same orientation in this case. I could, you know what? Actually, let's see if I can do this first. Yeah, let's do it this way with behavior. That way the X gets flipped to the other side. What that does is now when I select both their bases and rotate, they go in the same direction because the X is flipped. So I'll go to the next one, mirror, and I'm noticing a strange orientation that's going on here now that I think about it. Why the Z became the aim here, I have no idea. But I can orient those probably really quickly just to fix it so that X is actually aiming. This is correct right here. It should be X is the aim, and the Z flips. So, either way, that's very strange. We get the Z as the aim over here too. So either way, I can fix them just by going into the attribute editor and manipulating their joint orient right here. So I'll do, let's see if I can do both of them at the same time. But I want to take the Y, I believe. Yeah. That one's 90. I did not do it at the same time, so I'm just... that's not going to work at all now, is it? It does not like me. Let me try the... Let me pause it real quick and see if I can just use joint orient for this. Joint orient in 2012 is a little different. So give me a... Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is use joint orient on this first one here, and that should solve a lot of it. What I want for my settings under the orient joint tool, which is skeleton, orient joint, I want the primary axis to be X, the secondary to be Y, and I'm going to turn this on even though I think it's not going to work as good as it normally did, but orient children of this selected joint. So do that and automatically the X gets aimed. In this case it didn't orient the child, so what I'm going to do is with it selected, go to my attribute editor and just set the joint orient to 0 for all three so that it matches. Okay. What I could do now, actually, if I wanted to, is I could mirror these over again, but I think I will just use mirror joint. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So I did the mirror joint to get, or orient joint, I'm sorry, and 0, 0, 0. So that way those two match. The Z is pointing forward. These two match. The Z is pointing backwards, so that when I rotate again in Z, it does the same thing. These should be okay already. Oops. There you go. And then this one I'm going to have to orient as well. So orient the root one, take the little end one, and set the joint orients to 0 so that it matches its parent joint. Same over here. 0, 0, 0, and So now we've got our little joint chain set up for the tongue. You would go in and name these at this point, but for the sake of the time in this video, I'm not going to go ahead and do that. What I am, however, going to do is rig this. So what I'm going to do first is take the root joint of the tongue, and I'm going to parent it to the lower jaw joint right there. So just hit P, and now whenever the lower jaw moves, so will the tongue. But I need to rig this to the tongue, so I'm going to select that root joint and the tongue. And I'm going to go to skeleton, skin, bind skin, smooth bind. And I want to set it up, instead of bind to, I want joint hierarchy. This is just going to take this little hierarchy right here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to unparent that just to be on the safe side, because I don't think I've ever tried that before. But I'm going to unparent the tongue joints first, so that when I bind it, it will only use those. I can be sure of that. So now that I've unparented that by hitting Shift P, I'll select that, select tongue, joint hierarchy, closest, classic linear, interactive, good, good, good. Skin it so that the tongue is now controlled by that, and now I can take this joint and parent it to the lower jaw. So what we'll see now, if I can get this in the tongue, I'll isolate it again, and now you'll see that I can take these joints and rotate them, and you'll see that it controls the tongue. You'll have to paint barely any weights. The thing that I recommend, though, is on the tongue, I'll just go to the Paint Skin Weights tool, and for that root joint, I'll just, all of these back ones back here, I would highly recommend you just paint it to 100%, just to these back birds. That way, there's really no chance of this tongue coming out and, you know, doing something strange. So that should work just fine, but the tongue is essentially done now, so I'll just take these and curl them up just so you can see how well this works. Nope, I forgot. The Z's are in the opposite direction on those, but not a huge deal. For that, I would have to go and change the orientations. That was my fault. I did not notice. But if you want, you know what? I'll fix it right now just so you can see it. So I will delete history on the tongue, unparent the joints, and I'll just bring up the joint chain because that's really all I need in this case. Okay. Oh look, they're actually all over the place. I did not realize that. Alright, let me use the orient joint tool again. Do this one as well. And then I'll choose the children. Set them all to 0 so that they match. Good. The Z's are going in the same direction on these. That way when I rotate, both this side goes the same direction. I already oriented that. Good. Now I can go ahead and reskin this to the tongue. Smooth bind. I'll just re-isolate. Oh, I want the tongue with it, I'm sorry. And I'll just redo those weights on the very back. Now I'm getting this error that happens every now and then that I don't know how to make it work. Alright, so I'll paint these in a different way. I'll just select them, go to my component editor. I'm going to have to restart Maya most likely to fix this. Joint 2 is what I want to control all of these. So, there they are. And now it should work just fine. Excuse me. Alrighty, so I take all of these again. There you go. And I can select their roots and rotate them. And there you have your tongue. Excuse me. So I can now take that tongue's root joint, parent it to the lower jaw, and when I rotate the lower jaw now, you can see that the tongue is in fact in there and going with it, so you can do that. Okay, and that is how you make the tongue rig and add the lip roll for the lips. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the next video, which will be creating all the controls. So until then.